And we are live a little bit early. That was a little bit unexpected. We were just sitting here talking, Heidi and I, and we're live, which is great. So let us know if you are here in the chat box. It's awesome to be here. We'll kill a little bit of time because I know most of our viewers are going to be tuning in here at the top of the hour. So welcome, everyone. Like I said, let us know if you're here in the chat box. If you are listening, thank you so much for being here. And if you are watching the replay, you can always fast forward along the way to get to some of this great content that we're going to be talking about today as far as networking goes. So Heidi is our guest today. Heidi Torres is a networking expert. Heidi Torres has written a great book. She works with connecting people and building communities. She does a lot of work with HR. She has a great story behind her and who she is and what she loves. And we were just talking earlier about some of her pets. So welcome, Heidi. Tell us about your pets.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I am a animal lover. I love animals. So I have two beautiful little cats. I say little, one's like 12 pounds and the other one is 8 pounds. And I have two male ducks. One's like a traditional mallard. And the other one, I'm not really sure what he is, but he's kind of a rescue duck. He's just really beautiful. He's golden colored, and he has like a gray head. And one of our neighbors could no longer home him, right? So apparently he was getting kind of randy with the chickens, and
Ducks
they
and
they
chickens, right?
yeah, couldn't handle that. So they were asking someone in the community to look to home it, and my husband and I were like, we like ducks. We have land, and let's see if we can't take care of them. So we got them, and then found out that birds are very social animals. Right, so we couldn't just have one duck, so we had to find another duck, which we rescued apparently because the previous owner had roosters, and apparently the rooster was a little bit of a bully to the duck. So we felt very good in rescuing him from the rooster.
Oh, look at you building communities through rescue, right? Why
Yes.
not?
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, ducks are very social creatures. I've heard before that, ducks, the first thing they see when they're born is their mom. It turns into their mama. And
Mm.
it could be another animal, it could be like a park bench, it could be anything like that where they think immediately that it's their mother. So all right. Well, we are at the top of the hour, so we are officially going to get started. Let's look here in the chat box, see if we have anybody here. It doesn't look like we do. So let's go ahead and get the show started. We are live. Welcome to another episode of Jeff Ruby Live, where I interview wildly successful entrepreneurs and dig into their businesses to reveal their models, their frameworks, their strategies, and their tactics that they've used to achieve the highest levels of success, and how you as a real estate agent can take all of this, use it in your business to sell more homes and make more money. I am super excited today to bring on a very special guest, Heidi Torres. I'm going to introduce Heidi. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's out there listening, to our new viewers, our new listeners. It means a ton that you are here. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you to everybody that's returning. And if you're watching the replay, hey, welcome and welcome to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe down below and comment and use the chat box and ask questions, because I do reply to all of those. And we're going to share all of the links. We're going to share all of the resources that we go over today down in the comments. We'll share things in the chat if you're watching live. Welcome, everyone. Happy holidays. Without further ado, let's get on with it. Heidi Torres, thank you so much for being here.
I am super excited. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Heidi, tell us about yourself, how you got into networking, what your specialties are, because we want to talk about networking and building communities for real estate agents and how they can build their own communities, be part of other communities, and really be able to connect on a human level and with businesses. But let's find out like who you are and how you got into this.
Well, I will say that I have like 2 decades of retail sales and management, right? So I used to grow my own sales teams, and I loved it. Um, but the what parts that I really loved was developing my team, hiring them, and training them to be successful. And then down the road, I found out that it was actually a lot about HR. It's very HR. And so I was promoted into an HR supervisor because they pitched it to me as you get to hire everyone, train everyone, and be their go to person. And I thought, I love that, right? That's awesome. And so I did that for a year, and I absolutely loved it, but I wanted to really go more deeper into it and found out, well, you need a degree.
Right.
um, and to go into more of that side thing. So I went back to school and officially retired from the sales side and went back to school and also took care of my father, who at the time had Alzheimer's. And then when I was at school, the career advisor actually said that you need to network. You need to go out there and network in order to be successful in HR, actually in business in general. And I was like, I mean, I didn't really network, and it was kind of weird. You think with sales, I would have networked, but I didn't really actively think of it as networking or what I was doing on a very intentional level. And so I was like, okay, but in school, they don't teach you how to network. They just tell you to go do it. And,
Right.
and I have to admit, I only had like 42 LinkedIn connections at the time. That's how little when I first started out. And LinkedIn was really kind of like, what? And so went out. I joined provide my industry organizations. I started bigger scale volunteering, and yes, got on LinkedIn and learned about you, learned about like our mutual net friend, Fanny Dunnigan, and just started tackling that. And then my network started growing, right, Jeff? And people were asking me, how are you doing it? What are you doing? And you know, that old adage, if people keep asking you the same thing over and over, maybe you should do something about it. So I thought, I'll write a book because the pandemic hit and we were all stuck at home. And interestingly enough, it was really easy to connect with other community and business leaders because they were also at home, right? So I was able to connect with them, and Zoom became my best friend. And we
Right.
did some research, and just overall, I was able to do the research and continue growing the network. So it was actually really interesting from being in person and going to like 5 networking events a week while I was even in
Wow.
school, to being at home all of a sudden, but still now having calls lined up, boom, 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 and still networking got transitioned to online also. And so, and then podcasting is a form of networking. So, yes.
Right, right. That is so cool. And guys, you can get a copy of Heidi's book down below. There's a link up there on the screen. Again, that will be down in the comment section. So definitely get a copy of that. I love what you said about just the connection and like being able to go like 5 networking events per week. That
Yes.
is huge. But think of the social connection there, and then to be able to take that offline. So your background was in HR, and HR wanted you to go out and was it bring more people into your organization? You said you were in sales for that, right?
Well, so I was in sales, and then HR, I kind of really needed to know more about my community, right? So I needed to find ways to connect with other HR people, hiring managers and recruiters, and just really learn more about it. And I needed to find a mentor. I really wanted a mentor um, to grow in the HR side, right? And so I thought, well, I needed to go where the people are. And then that was kind of what led me to going to all these different networking events. You know, so I joined Dallas HR. I joined North Texas SHRM. I became friends with a lot of people on Fort Worth HR. Um, and on top of my school, I went to my school's chapters and stuff like that, right? and really started connecting with them and realized there's just so much more. At the time, I didn't know about HR. I mean, the more I learned, the more I loved it, but there was just, it's such a huge industry. And because it touches every industry, even if you're an entrepreneur, it's still, there's a lot of rules and regulations and different things that you have to connect with. And I needed to be a part of that. I needed to find out how to grow my own career in HR. So networking was the key. That was the key to get out there and make those connections. One of the, well, actually, in the book of my forward, Bruce Waller wrote my hardcover. He wrote my forward, and I call him the Bruce of HR. And he's Bruce Waller, and he is the VP of Armstrong Relocation, actually. And so I met him at a conference, at a student conference. And I was told I needed to meet the Bruce of HR, and I did. I did a kind of a faux pas thing. I charged across this giant room, and he was already talking to someone, and I just got up there and stood there and waited. Like,
That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
Well, he was gracious enough. Both of the people that he was talking to were gracious enough to pause our conversation and let me interject myself. And they were amazing. And they have both become friends, actually. So even beyond net friends, they became friends and mentors, and really helped me navigate the HR world. And so, yeah, it was just building that connection. And that's the same thing, like your community. You need to build your community, but you need to know who to bring into it.
That is the absolute key right there. You have to know who your audience is. And I talk about this a lot as far as really establishing your true authentic self and projecting that out to the world, being your true person, because that's your audience of people will be people that are attracted to you. And then from there, you can build your network of communities, both online and offline. But if you're trying to be somebody that you're not, or do something that you really don't want to do, you're not passionate about it, you're going to hit those walls. So that is awesome. I love what you said when you said, go where the people are, right?
Yes.
Like in business, follow the money. And what we're talking about today is success leaves clues. And that's what we want to talk about as far as building community. So let's talk about for a second, a few ways that a real estate agent can build their community. You just tapped into a little bit. I want you to elaborate on that. What are some other ways that a real estate agent can build their community, both offline and online? And the more specific you can get, the better. And I'll try to fill in some blanks.
Okay. Well, so one of your competitors, because I know a lot of real estate. I know, like, and trust. I have at least 8 real estate agents that are net friends of mine. And one of them, I actually learned quite a bit about networking. She actually formed her own networking group that meets virtually every Monday. And then once a month, actually at an in-person venue. So now when we started opening up here in Texas, they actually started opening up and takes over this, like, the one section of this restaurant, and have a 2 or 3 hour networking event, and it's totally free, right, for everyone who wants to attend. And if you want to sponsor it, you get a little extra time to talk, and it's not even that expensive to even sponsor the monthly event. But I love the fact that I've kind of felt like she's followed, even though I don't think she knows Fanny Dunnigan, but she followed her advice in creating her own venue, right? Her own venue to network, and then basically invited different service providers and professionals to connect and share. And she always does a little bit of kind of like what you're doing here. She shares information. She shares information about how you grow your business, not even necessarily to real estate, but just business in general, how, different things. And I think last time we talked about was taxes, right? Because the beginning of the year, we got to think about taxes already. And so we kind of just shared that information and learned about it. But at the same time, and, if you're in person, she keeps like a little bowl of business cards, and then she shares it. She'll, type it all up, and she'll share it to the whole community of who attended. And allow you to make that one-on-one. So I think that's a really awesome thing. And I think like what you're doing here is reaching out through your community also virtually, right? And live. And you're providing a service. You're providing a free service of information. And I think that's a really key way to do that.
Yeah, providing free services of information. So for real estate agents listening and watching, think of how you can apply this to working with buyers, for example, right? What could you provide to them? Think about things like a free buyer's guide to your town, a free list of homes that become available each week or instantly. Just think of all the tools and resources that you have at your fingertips that you can offer to the public for free. So you could do that, like you said, Heidi, creating your own venue. That doesn't mean like go out and buy a restaurant, but maybe you use the same spot in that restaurant, right? And you start to develop the relationships even through the restaurant manager, or one of your favorite coffee shops that may have a room in the back. So for the people who are listening and watching that are thinking, yeah, but that's expensive, like how does that lead to sales? How would you answer that question, Heidi?
Well, most actually right now, restaurants are begging for people to, obviously come in and regularly attend their places, right? Because people are so scared of the pandemic and that kind of thing. So they want business to come in. But if they expect it regularly, so, once a month or once every couple of weeks, that's a regular thing that they can count on. And if you're driving in, 10, 20 people every time, that's a drink sale, that's a appetizer sale, that kind of thing. And for those who are attending, I mean, shell out, you're going to buy coffee, right? You're going to buy your own coffee,
at
right?
least, right?
Right. You can go coffee or, appetizer or something like that. And then still have that connection and building, and that in itself is not an expensive venue. That's not an expensive thing. So you can create all different type of ways. And even, I mean, there's a lot of little public spaces, right? I mean, really, if you really just wanted to meet, you can, public library. I'm just saying, there's like different venues that you can go to, or the parks. And right now we have the warm winter, like one of the warmest winter. Still enjoy the parks, right? There's still things that you can create and still be safe, right? Be safe about it. But we have, LinkedIn groups. There's LinkedIn groups that you can still chat and meet, and you can still FaceTime and just fun little things. And it doesn't have to go on for hours and hours. 30 minutes just to touch base. I actually am part of a online book club called Climb, Connect, Lead, Inspire, Mentor, and Build. And it's on Facebook. I know that sounds really old school. It's on Facebook, but it's a great way. We meet twice a month for an hour, and we just talk about different books that we on leadership books, and just what's going on in our lives. And it's a great way to connect.
Yeah, in a day and age like we're living in now, where we've lost so much of that connection, which even started in the beginnings of Facebook. We could go back to 2008, but then of course with the pandemic and how that's just really pulled us apart from communities. So the building of them online is super, super important. And what's important about it is remember, it's called networking for a reason. Of course, we have the social networking piece for online. It's really networking. So I see a lot of real estate agents out there that they're broadcasting. Mm-hmm. They're not necessarily networking. So they're constantly just pushing. Look at this listing. Here's this, look at me. But there's not as much engagement as to what they can do inside of other communities. So let's talk a little bit about the give and take on building a community and how you actually serve your community, not only your community, but the other communities that you're part of.
So we talked a little bit about being part of, for me, because my father had Alzheimer's. I walked into Alzheimer's, and the chairperson of the first event, like in 2019, that I went to, as a dentist in the Sherman area, was Sherry Smith, and then the co-chairperson which became the chairperson this past year, is Beth Appleby. They were amazing people, and they're in your industry. They're in the real estate industry, but I actually connected with them through the Walk to End Alzheimer's, right? And they supported me. They created like a caregiver support group, and so they had really helped me when I needed it. Totally outside of the industry. They didn't need HR, and at the time I didn't need real estate, but we both needed the Walk to End Alzheimer's. We both had people that we loved that suffered from it and passed from it, and so it was a community within itself. And then when I wrote my book, they supported me and helping with my like the pre-sales and the promotion, and it was just building that bonding friendship. So I obviously love them and am so happy to be a part of their committee, the mission. So I'm on their mission director for the walk, and it is a necessary thing, but it's passionate, right? We're all passionate about that. And that's volunteering to make that really help people hopefully one day that, won't suffer from the same disease. And so I encourage people to find out what you're passionate about, right? Outside of even your work, what are you passionate about, and dive into that, because you're not the only one. Now, if you can't find a group, that's when I say, follow like Fanny's advice, start one, because you are not the only person that's passionate about that. But it may not be, maybe in a rural area or something, and you don't have a group out there that you know of. Start it up, and that's where you can really grow your community.
Yeah, and we're circling back to us as individuals. Yes. It's just so fascinating that the whole purpose of this episode on the show was to talk about networking, which immediately you think of communities and bunches of people. What it does, it really comes back to us as individuals and really establishing who our network is, who are the people that we truly want to be around, because people do business with people they know, like, and trust. But what's even bigger than that is the ancillary benefits. You just mentioned a great one, with Alzheimer's, and you ended up in a group that was actually like, you said the word, you love them. Like, those are real, true human beings. And on the social side of things, there are real, true human beings behind those too. So whether you're either building your own community, starting your own, or whether you're in someone else's or part of another community, it's so important to contribute. But don't join or be part of or start communities that you're not passionate about. Right?
Right. And you mentioned a great point. One of the people that I interviewed for my book, his name is Jeff Caffey, and he is
great name.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And he said it doesn't matter, we may all be from different socioeconomic backgrounds, different ones. We may have different educational backgrounds, race, gender, whatnot. But we're all humans, like you said. We are all humans. So you start with that commonality first, right? You start with that, and then you can build upon your other commonalities, right? Your other passions, and that's where you can really bond. Where it is, but it is starting with your individual and then reaching out.
Yeah. Yep. Let's talk about for introverts, let's say, who have a hard time in group settings or being part of a group, even though I'm an introvert as well. We're already part of groups, whether we know it or not. What would be some things that a real estate agent could do to make them feel more comfortable, maybe stepping out of their shell? Maybe some intro steps to building and being part of communities.
So one of the things I usually do or recommend for introverts, because you still have your one or two good friends, right? So you still have what I call your refried beans, which is our family and friends, when I talk about 7 layers of networking. So you have your refried beans, your family and friends. One of my fantastic real estate friends invited me to a dinner party. And he asked me to bring one person well, he didn't know, right? He asked me to bring one person that he didn't know. Um, and he brought one person that I didn't know. But it was a controlled setting, right? So he was able to network with that person. I was able to network with another person that we did actually have something in common. So he built a relationship with both of us to know that we had something in common to talk about.
Right.
But we were there, and it was an intimate setting, but it was a way to network without being overwhelmed by a whole bunch of other people, right? So it was something you can control. And I, as an introvert, you can have your common friend, have them bring someone you don't know, and you are instantly now connecting with someone else, right? And it's a more personalized conversation. I think those are really, or even, you could do a coffee setting even that way, right? You can do a little coffee chat type of thing. But the one-on-one conversations, for introverts, that's your power, right? Your power is that one-on-one versus, oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming, and like the bigger venues and the conferences and stuff like that can be very overwhelming. But as an introvert, like Bill Gates is a well-known introvert. He does one-on-ones really great, right? He hires extroverts. He hired
Right.
extroverts to do all the work.
Hire for your own weaknesses.
Right, exactly. But and then that was kind of one of those things. So you can build a relationship, and that's your strength as an introvert. One-on-one, one-on-ones, and then take that to the next little step. Have them bring their one-on-one, and then now be that connector.
Yeah. Connecting with connectors. And it's also being vulnerable, getting comfortable, being uncomfortable. Real estate is a contact sport. Okay. That doesn't mean go out and start tackling your clients. What it does mean is that we have to be in contact with people, because people are the ones who are buying and selling the homes. So we have to be able to do that. Yes, we can sit behind a computer and a keyboard and do certain things and generate leads online and reply to emails and direct messages and so forth. But that's not necessarily the community building piece. Definitely an important part of the business, but it's not building the community. What are some other like specific, let's just say, groups? Like I know Chamber of Commerce comes to mind. Conferences, real estate networks. What would you have some advice for people to build their network when it comes to specific events? Maybe. I mean, I'm probably better to talk about the specific real estate events, but anything just from a building of network perspective.
Well, there are actually, so Google's your friend.
Yes, right.
Google's your friend. There's different groups, right? Meetups and BNI, and there's all these different ones that you can participate in. I mean, and there's local ones. I always try to do the local ones first, but also on LinkedIn. I mean, search your industry. I mean, that's really what I did. I actually, um, for HR, I searched my industry to see what groups were relevant, and then started volunteering with those groups. I mean, I actually started volunteering, then I got on their committees, and then I got on their boards. So that's actually how I'm on Dallas HR and Texoma Human Resource Management boards, was through volunteering and showing up. I mean, you have to show up, right? Research that, and different connections. So as you're building your connections, what groups are they in that they could share with you? I actually, as a in the recruiting side of field, I'm part of the Who You Know network and career DFW and career US. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Who you
I
know?
guess we got to give it. We're going to give a shout
There
out
you go.
to the
Yes.
Job Networking Show.
Exactly. Love them.
Give a shout out
Trevor and
to Ice Shaker, Chris Gronkowski. Appreciate you.
nice. Yeah. And so yeah, Foster Williams and the Job Father and Andy Cook, amazing community, right? So I became a part of their group. I mean, part of it was when I was job seeking myself, and then part of it as on the recruiting side is now trying to help people land their next opportunity. So volunteering. I volunteer with the PIT crew, the practice interview team with Mark McDonald. I volunteer with them. and constantly share information and speak on their shows too. So
Why did you pick those?
um well, they were so initially they were all in person before the pandemic, and they were very welcoming, and it was just a great feeling, great atmosphere. And then when it went virtual, they did a great job of transitioning onto the virtual format to help people, and they don't turn away. They give resources and it's free. So we talk about this again, right? Providing those resources that help people. And job seekers are the ones that need help the most because, well, they're out of a job. And so, it bothers me when people charge fees for to help them land roles. That bothers me. I understand charging fee to write a resume because resume, that's work. But to actually help find someone a job and you charge that, I'm not bad mad at anyone. I'm just like, I don't understand. I just don't do that.
No, I understand it. We see it in the real estate coaching arena as well.
Mm.
It's very expensive for real estate agents to get into real estate coaching. And especially for new agents, they're usually bootstrapped and may not have the cash to actually spend to get a coach. That's why our coaching program is totally free. If you guys would like to schedule a call with me to see what that's all about and how I work with all of the agents in our organization to help them launch, build, and scale profitable businesses. That's what I'm here for. And I don't charge you for it. It's free, like we talked about, because that builds my community. And when I build a community within the brokerage model that I'm a part of with EXP, everybody wins. And that's what's so beautiful about that. And that's what allows me to provide free coaching to my organization. So I'll also provide that link down in the comment section. If you're listening to this on the podcast, it'll be in the show notes as well. But yeah, offering this stuff for free. The reason I asked you why you chose those organizations to volunteer in, and I know the answer is because that's what you're passionate about, right?
Yes.
Those are the things that you love. And that's why it's like, we don't have a problem showing up for the things that we're passionate about.
Sure.
But if we're volunteering because in organizations, because somebody told us we should, that's not the best use. And we're not going to build an authentic community around that. There's nothing wrong with being guests for going to events and stuff like that. But when you're choosing where you want to spend your time volunteering, that's the way to do it. And guess what? Where do you think a lot of our business comes from as real estate agents? It's from the communities that we're building. Heidi, you mentioned earlier, 8 different real estate agents. So how do you choose the real estate agent that you're going to work with out of those 8?
So that's interesting. The first one was through referral, right? I was referred to by someone I trusted. And the person was great. The other ones, so I unfortunately haven't actually had a reason to personally deal with them, but I will refer them to other people. So a lot of it's depending on what they specialize in and their location. So, if I know someone that needs commercial, I know a perfect person for that. I know if someone's looking for residential or selling, some specialize more in selling, some specialize more in buying. and so I built those relationships with them, and so I can refer the proper ways. And it's kind of the same way with even like any of my services that my friends offer, right? My net friends offer. I know what they can do. I know when I build a relationship with like job seekers, if they need specific help with certain resume writing or if they need to practice interviewing, I know who I can pull together and who can help them with that. So all about building that relationship first. And that's how I determine who I go to.
Yeah, I guess, they say the proof's in the pudding. If they say everybody knows at least 2 to 3 realtors and 8. So I think you've multiplied the average quite a bit. And that's because you're great at building communities and you understand that. You got into niches, the riches are in the niches. And when we niche down, like you said, you have a realtor who works specifically in one area or somebody that does commercial. Like you have people who have really found their niche. And when you know what your niche is, it's part of also finding your community of people.
Yes.
And if your niche is tied into what you're passionate about, so there's no problem showing up, you love what you're doing, like it's like it's ingrained in you. You know it, right, Heidi? You know it when you feel it, like this is it. This is what's giving me fulfillment. Guess what? The other people that are around you doing the same thing are also feeling the same thing. So from a business perspective, aren't those the people that you want to work with?
Yes. Well, yes, you want to work with the rock stars, right? I mean, they are rock stars in their industry. And I know, like, well, talk about who you know. So Trevor Houston talks about surrounding yourself with people who um that elevate you, right? Push power to power, surround yourself with that. And that's it, right? I mean, when you're building your community also, you don't want to build a community of losers. I'm
Just
just
to put
saying,
it bluntly, right?
right? So you want to build, surround the people that are successful, but are also going to help you be successful. And that's, again, sharing the resources, sharing the right resources, sharing, your passions, and truly building yourself up, but you're building others up with you. So it's not a one-way street.
Yeah. Yep. That's great when you can build others up with you, surround yourself for people that elevate you. And sometimes that can be intimidating. It can be intimidating. You had a great example of running across a room and sat there and waited for somebody to get their attention because you wanted to surround yourself. I had a very similar story when I first joined eXp Realty in 2008. Part of the reason I joined the company is because it was giving me the opportunity to do exactly what we're talking about here, is build a community of agents who want to learn. And I was able to do that through teaching classes through the university. So to be able to, have all of these students and be able to learn was, why I initially came over. And in order for me to get to that point, I'd been at the company a few months. It was a big national convention. I went and I knew the person who I needed to talk to. And I knew she was very busy. She was surrounded with people. And I just went right up. I was in my best Sunday suit, and I'm just waiting. We catch eye contact, and she had recognized me from my online contribution to one of our workplace groups, sharing information, answering questions, asking questions. And she said, "Oh, hi, Jeff. Great to see you." And she literally stopped the conversation with 4 or 5 people, came up, shook my hand. I think she actually gave me a small hug. And those 90 seconds that we spent together allowed me to then reach another plateau in my career to now be able to coach, teach, and work with real estate agents. And had I not done that and not stepped into that community, that never would have happened. And of course, the relationships that have built from there, and it's incredible from that. So yeah, surround yourself with those people.
Well,
There's 2 great examples.
you mentioned another great thing is that you were sharing content, right? Because she recognized you from the information that you were sharing. And
Which is the stuff
so,
I'm passionate about. I wasn't sharing stuff that I'm like, I don't like this. There's some stuff I could share but I'm not like, let somebody else do that part.
right. But you're being visible. I mean, I
Yes.
love that you are being visible. I tell people, especially those who are trying to grow their career, grow their credibility, is that they do need to be on social media, that they do need to share, obviously, relevant and relevant
Yes.
information and what they're passionate about, because it does show genuine caring and personality, right? So it's not fake, because people will sense the fakeness. But yes, being visible is a key thing. Liking other people's information, commenting relevant information, not just, oh, I like it, and what did you get out of it? That will actually help warm you to other layers of the network, right? Because when you're top of mind, and I talk to us about job seekers, especially when they have like target companies or target people that they want to meet, it's okay to cyber stalk them a little bit, to get on there to see the information of what's going on with them, right? And then understand and comment it and share, because people notice. They will notice that you're talking. I know, like Jeff. Oh, Jeff started following me. Oh, Jeff liked my comment. And then when I actually meet you, like you were talking there, when I meet you, it's like, I feel like I know you. I feel more receptive to what you're saying, to what you're talking about, than if I never heard your name or never saw you, and all of a sudden you come up and ask me something or wanting help, and I'll be like,
right.
so yes, being out there, being visible, and Fanny would say, create your own brand, be your own brand, right? And so that people know you. Uh, one of Back to who Foster Williams, he'll like, when he knows me, he'll introduce me as HR Heidi. He's like, I know her as HR Heidi, and that's my brand. But I mean, that's how he knows it, and that's how he refers to me. And so I think, hey, Jeff Ruby, know your brand.
Yeah, well, and that's just being visible. Being visible, it made me think, be visible. Write this down if you're listening. Pay attention if you're watching. Be visible and vulnerable. Because when you're visible, you're out. You're showing that you're out there. People are seeing what you're doing, what you're saying. But then when you can be vulnerable, now you can start sharing who you really are. Now, I know there's some people are like, yeah, but I don't like social media. I don't like Facebook. I don't like. You don't have to like it, but you're losing out on the opportunity to build community by not using it. You can use it and then use it to build an offline community. But I think would you agree with me, Heidi, on that? You're doing yourself a huge disservice to your brand, to your business, and to your growth and opportunities by shushing the whole social media thing and being a stalker.
Yeah, you gotta be out there. And one of my beta readers, who's also a net friend. Well, when I write the book, I had beta readers. So I had beta readers, and his name is Charles Middleton. He asked me, he's like, are you sure you want to share all this information in your book? Because I share a lot of personal stuff, because it's about my journey through networking, right? It's how I journey through it. And I'm like, I'm literally kind of an open book. I mean, he's like, this is going to be out there for posterity. It's going to be out there. And I'm like, well, you can't hurt me with the truth. So it's my truth. But when you mention vulnerability, do you know Carl Sean Watkins?
Carl, give me some context. That it sounds familiar, but if I were to say, "Oh yeah, absolutely," I wouldn't be.
Well, for those who don't, you can look him up. He's on LinkedIn. He does actually a whole workshop on vulnerability for business leaders. So I was like, I think you might check him out. He was actually on my LinkedIn show a couple of weeks ago. So fantastic guy. But yes, he talks about how we do need to be more vulnerable, because like Carla Hall said, you got to be your authentic self. You got to be your authentic self. And she fixed her whole branding on being herself, her authentic Carla brand. I love Carla brand. So Carla Hall, she's amazing. So anyways, yeah.
I love that. I mean, just getting involved. I'm just so fascinated by, the ability for us to get involved in so many different ways and develop, being strategic about it. Gosh, there were a couple of things you said. You mentioned a whole bunch of stuff, and I was writing them down, and I forgot the most important part. But it was really like what you got me when you said, "I feel like I already know you," and as a result of just like, oh, I know what I wanted to say. Here we go. Vulnerability. Back to vulnerability. It's so freeing to be vulnerable, and when you can do it on a platform, especially like this, where at some point anybody in the world can watch this. This will be on YouTube for as long as YouTube is around. There's strategic vulnerability involved in that as well. What I mean by that is you don't want to be so vulnerable, and I think maybe this is what your beta reader was kind of hinting at a little bit, and I could be totally wrong on this too, is we don't want to put so much out there that we feel like our audience that we built now needs to take care of us.
Oh, right. No.
Right. But there's such a fine line on that. So we have to be very careful, especially social, putting out a Facebook post about all your miseries and everything. So, and especially if as a real estate agent,
No.
Come on. If you have people that are your audience and they're like, oh my gosh, like he or she, I don't want to bother them. They have all this stuff going on in their lives. But there's a way to do that where you can be vulnerable and people are like, man, I connect with that person because I share the same feelings or I struggle with the same things or emotions and stuff like that. So being vulnerable, I think, Heidi, is really a first step towards being that true, authentic self.
I agree.
Being real. Like, let's get real, right?
Yeah. And honestly, it's just easier.
Yeah, right.
It is, but there is actually, you're right. There is that fine line of sharing too much. I guess there's for example, I had a job seeker who was having trouble landing a role, and he came to me and just went off. Like, went off on his whole life situation and why he wouldn't work in certain scenarios. Now I understood. Okay, he's like, I asked for some background. He said I can't work outside of a certain location or whatever, and I understood that. But then he went off and went into this whole history, like medical history and everything, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fine to share it with me, but if I land up an interview for you for a client, don't share that.
Right.
Like, that's not there. You can't share that because they now you're like, they're not going to hire you because you're sharing all the stuff that they don't need to know. And it was just on and on, and I'm like, ooh, kind of
You're like,
ready to
put the
break.
mouth filter on there, buddy.
Yeah.
Time to
So,
change the filter.
so it's like, I'm happy that you shared that with me. Don't share it with anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Kind of switching gears a little bit. I think we haven't touched on this so much, but we did a little bit, but really having fun with building your brand, building your true authentic self. Because here's the thing, if you're having fun, you're obviously enjoying it. And if it's productive and you're having fun, I can't think of anything else we need to add as far as fulfillment and, success in life. The money will come as a result of those two things. So, having fun and also being smart. We talked about smart and vulnerability, but like, if you're going to especially a physical networking event with people or real estate conferences or things where there's a lot of excitement, usually there's a lot of party and alcohol and stuff going on too. So be careful with that. Word of advice. We've all seen it. Some of us have been there. Just know that you're building relationships and you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So maybe night 2 after you've met some new people. That's the other thing with networking. You need to be meeting new people as well, not just being the wallflower. So make it an opportunity to go meet new people. Heidi, tell me about what did we talk about your ducks?
we did a little bit, but I really want to.
Random.
I want to kind of just jump back real quick because you mentioned something about you mentioned talking about connecting and making it fun. So one of the people I interviewed for my book, his name is John Godoy. He's an introvert. So he's an
You're
introvert.
name dropping like crazy. You have a huge community of people. I love it. It's like this person, that person.
But he's what's amazing about him. So he's an introvert and he's a great speaker. He's a great speaker, a great trainer, and you would never know that he was an introvert. So I was really touched that he shared that with me. So he talks about, and he calls it he calls it a treasure hunt, but I think it's more of a scavenger hunt. It's just semantics. But when you meet someone, right, and you find out he searches for that nugget of truth, right, that information that could change his life. Um, I like to do that too, but I also want to know if I can find that information that's going to change the other person's life, right? So that's how I can help. So if I get to know you, Jeff, and I talk about, you tell me about what's going on in your life and going on in real estate, and then I'm filing this away in my head and I'm thinking, how else can I bring someone else, or who else can I introduce you to that could help you with the situation that you need, right? That to me, if I can find a way to help you, is more fun, I guess. It's just actually more fun for me, to be that connector than anything. And so it's just one next little question here, little question there. And it's kind of like, learning about your kids. It's kind of like learning about how, what they're interested in. And yes, I guess it's really not that different with teenagers. And they're all saying,
Pretty much.
but finding information about that, and then because you were actually helping me with the information, but I think that's huge. I think that huge little connection and going that next step, and then talking to like even net playing. So I actually want to know from you, when you're talking about real estate, what do you do for fun that drives real estate? So in my book, I talk about how like NFL players and NBA players, will do charity events, right? But they don't do it in the field in their own sport, which I thought was interesting. They do it in a totally different sport. They did like golf. So like the NBA and NFL, like Aaron Rodgers did a golf charity with Chris Paul. So what do you do that's fun but helpful?
So a big part of what I do, uh, when it comes to adding the element of fun and being able to share my true authentic self, I think I'm pretty funny, is to provide humor in real estate. And I do that using the online platforms. I'm very big on Instagram, on TikTok as well, where I'm sharing funny memes, doing voice overlays, and tying everything back into real estate agents. Because with my work in working and coaching with real estate agents and helping them build their businesses, there's so many things out there that are like, it's a grind. It's a grind. 80 to 90% of new real estate agents fail out of the business within the first 3 years. There's so much that happens, and it's very serious, and they're being told what they need to do from all of these different directions. So I add an element of humor, which allows agents to connect with me. And even if it's just to get them to laugh a little bit, and they can be with any company out there. It doesn't matter. They don't have to be with our company. That makes me feel good. A comment back, haha, an emoji, thanks for that, made my day. Anything like that just fuels me and allows me to keep doing it. It also attracts other agents who see the humor, who see the real side of me, the vulnerability, who see stuff with my kids and reels and TikToks and stuff that they want to be in, that they volunteer to be in. People connect with me on that. And that's what's fun, so to add that little bit. I don't do charity events like that. I should. And I have some ideas, and I'm glad we're talking about this. So from a vulnerability standpoint, I've never been very good with that. And we have a great opportunity now. We have a brand new, beautiful park in our neighborhood. It would be great to invite the neighbors, because I do farm this neighborhood. I work this neighborhood for sales, for real estate sales. It's not a huge part of my business as it was in building my business. So I'm going to do an event. So if you're watching this video, comment below, and I will reply back to you when we have the event, and I will have another video about the event. How about that?
I like that. I like that.
Awesome.
And I happen to know a lot of party planners. So
oh, well, imagine that. So we have relationships. I actually have 2 boxes that I need to check, which you and I will connect offline, off the show, for people who you've mentioned. Again, for those connections in that community.
Yeah.
So I guess, too, if you guys are on the fence, this show right now is being broadcast on at least 10 different networks, multiple Facebook channels. Hey, our buddy Austin Armstrong's in the house. What's up going on, Austin? Great to see you. And you totally threw me off. Thanks for disrupting the show, Austin. We were talking about, where was I, Heidi?
We're talking about checking off the boxes in the community.
Checking the boxes of the people that you want to, and building the community that we're building even through here. So what I was getting to is, if you're on the fence, even about, starting with video, or how do I even build my communities, this is a fantastic, fantastic way. It's okay, Austin. Austin's saying that he's sorry. It's all good. This is a fantastic way. Start a live show about something that you're passionate about, tie it into your real estate business. It could be sports. It could be art. It could be music. It could be religion. It could be anything. I mean, here, Austin Armstrong, who just, chimed in, he started a whole business around TikTok because he loves it and he's good at it. And he's able to share so many great contents and so much great free resources and things like that.
I probably should have talked to Austin when I got banned from TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not banned anymore, but I was.
Oh, you're okay. Gotcha. Well, something obviously happened. So, yeah, reach out to Austin. He's on there. He's in the chat. You can always go back and look at that on there. Heidi, we've been on for almost an hour. This has been great. We've dug so deep. We've talked about people and communities and strategies and the ways to really get, be vulnerable and be out there and what did I say? I loved it. Be visible and vulnerable.
Yeah,
how would you tie everything up? Like, what advice would you give to leave some real estate agents today who are like, all right, I'm kind of getting this a little bit. I get the community thing, but I'm still not like really seeing how it truly benefits my bottom line in selling more houses and making more money.
Well, one of the people I would say that you probably need to get connected with, and I'm going to throw another name out here, is Michelle Wilson, right? I find like she's a concierge of different services for real estate agents, and she knows everyone. So finding those people, finding the people who will help you in your industry, right? So whether in real estate or business or whatever you're doing, even if you're just selling some knickknack, who do you need to, one, improve your processes, right? Improve your what you do that can help you. Who are your customers? Connecting with your customers. And where are you? Finding out. And there's lots of ways. I'm going to say Google is my friend for that. So I do a ton of Google searches. On LinkedIn, I do searches. You can search by groups, companies, targets, people, jobs, search, location, and schools. People don't even tap into their alumni. Go back to your old schools. Find your different layers, right? I'm going to go back to friends, colleagues, your target people, your industry leaders, your people with common interests. Volunteer where you're passionate at, because those are actually your community also. And then everyone and everywhere. So your toppings, right? I think Steve Wozniak, when I was on a Zoom call with him, said that he met someone at a Grateful Dead concert who later then called and said, hey, you want to write a book? So everyone and everywhere, be open to it.
Everyone and everywhere. I love that. That is great. Those are some nuggets right there. Guys, this has been an amazing show. Heidi, thanks so much for being here. This was awesome. Yes, this was so cool. Again, this is the Jeff Ruby live show. I want to say thank you to our listeners, to our audience, and to those who are watching the replay of this. We wouldn't be able to do this without your support. Thank you guys for attending. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I put out new videos every week to help you real estate agents launch, build, and scale profitable businesses. My coaching is totally free for you. If you'd like to sign up for a free call, I have a link for you as well. If I can find it, there it is down there. I'll also put all of our links, everything we chatted about, down in the chat box. Again, Heidi, thank you so much. Happy holidays to you, your family, and to everybody watching. And until next time, see ya.